Okay. Who here has sat down to study and suddenly started thinking now is the perfect time to rearrange furniture, organize your closet, or scroll on your phone? I know I have. For whatever reason, there's always plenty of time and energy for everything except for what I really need to do. Today, I'm talking about why we procrastinate. Not because we're lazy, it has a lot to do with how our brains function, how we process stress, and perfectionism. As students, we all have done it. You have an important paper due, your laptop is open, but instead you're deep cleaning your kitchen or watching endless TikToks. If you aren't a student, you're likely a fellow procrastinator, or you know someone who's putting something off right now. Understanding why we do this to ourselves can help us to stop beating ourselves up over it and hopefully learn to not do it so much. As a nursing student in my 40s, a mom and a longtime procrastinator, I wanted to better understand why I am so good at doing everything except for what I should be doing. So a deep dive into what the experts have to say. First, I'll explain what's taking place in our brains when we procrastinate. Next, I'll talk about the reasons linked to our emotions that keep us putting things off. And finally, I'll share some easy science-based ways to get stuff done without pretending to become experts on productivity all of a sudden. Our brains actually have a way of working against us. The emotional networking part of our brain wants to avoid negative, anxious feelings. It wants to be comfortable right now, while the logical part wants long-term success. Unfortunately, the emotional brain wins the battle most of the time, which is why something like studying for an exam loses to just one more episode of that series you've been watching on Netflix. Researchers call this time inconsistency. According to a 2019 article published in volume 30 of Cerebral Cortex Journal, our brains overvalue immediate rewards and undervalue future ones. In a nutshell, we're more about feeling good in the moment when we care more about feeling good in the moment than we do our future goals. So if our brains are wired like this, what is actually going on with our emotions that keeps us doing it, even though we know we'll pay for it later? Procrastination isn't about being lazy, it's truly linked to our emotions. We procrastinate to avoid the uncomfortable feelings of stress, fear, and self-doubt. A psychologist named Timothy Seicel, co-author of an article titled Procrastination and Health, a longitudinal study of the roles of stress and health behaviors, explains that procrastination is really more to do with mood management than it is to do with time management. We avoid tasks that make us feel bad in the short term. Then there are perfectionists. This is my category. We are some of the worst procrastinators because if we fear that we won't be able to do it just so, we'd rather not start. Avoiding the tasks makes us feel better, but that feeling doesn't last long. According to a journal article published in 1997 in volume 8 of Psychological Science, procrastination actually decreases stress in the moment but increases it later when the deadline comes near. The temporary relief tricks our brains into thinking that avoidance works, which keeps us repeating the pattern of bad behavior over and over. So now we know what's going on in our brains and how our emotions contribute, but there are a few simple tricks that can help us in outsmarting ourselves. So how to outsmart procrastination? You can try something called temptation bundling. You can do this by pairing something that you're required to do with something you don't really want to do, like watching TV while you're folding laundry. This works by giving you a little dopamine boost from the fun activity, which makes the not so fun activity easier to start. There's also the 2-minute rule. It's another way to combat procrastination. If a task takes 2 minutes or less, do it immediately. Or try setting a 10-minute timer, and once you start your task, momentum will typically kick in and keep you going. And be easy on yourself. A 2019 article called "To Do It Now or Later" The Cognitive Mechanisms and Neural Substrates Underlying Procrastination, published in Cognitive Science Journal, says that forgiving yourself for procrastination makes you more likely to move forward. Beating yourself up only adds guilt on top of stress, and that's a combination that almost guarantees you're going to do it again. Now we know procrastination isn't a flaw in character, but our complex brain trying to avoid discomfort. The emotional part wants that instant reward, and our logical side can't always compete or win the fight between doing what we want and what we need to do. So the next time you end up cleaning, snacking, or scrolling instead of studying, just remember it's not you, it's your brain. Then go ahead and try to trick it into working for you and not against you.